Hello everyone, Zeller here, and if most people are like me, they are either already hit level 50 or approaching level 50. And we have gone into a new month, September, and there is a lot of things people need to think about at this point regarding. And at this point, most people have either made the decision on whether they want to pull Simona or not. I've discussed that in my prior videos, so I really won't get too much into that. But now it's kind of looking to the future units coming out and the later, more difficult endgame that's going to be coming up. The big thing that I am looking at this point is with my team, I'm starting to kind of see where it's going, heading in terms of making at least my first full team for doing tower adversity. As we know, in the future there will be a new tower mode that requires you to have 2 built up. So when it comes to looking at the future units that are releasing, you want to kind of build teams that synergize well together in order to clear the content on it. And this isn't just in the fact of just getting all the tier 0s. You see a lot of people that are saying, just pull Sophia, August, and the big DPSs, which, yes, they will be useful for the in-game content. You will still have to have your utility members to support them in that content. And so I thought I'd kind of look at some things that we will want to think about when it comes to building the team. So the first thing is we just got a new Cornucopia Battle Pass. I know most people either made their decision in the prior release or the prior Battle Pass, whether to get it or not. And I just thought I'd kind of go over it quickly on one reason why I think it'd be a good pickup for anybody that's willing to spend a little bit of money on the game. The big thing is at level 50, I think most people, if you've already reached it, will notice it is quite expensive to upgrade your weapon to the next tier. We'd have very few of the legendary radiant ores coming in, and most of it, you're getting a bulk of it from the events. And that's pretty much how I've leveled up the few that I have. The big thing is that there is this other currency you can use to convert to count towards it. So right now I can use this to make up the difference. So to use 9,150 to get all of the stuff needed to level up a weapon. Currently I have none, so it'd be 9,150 to do it. Now if you look up here at my income, I have 23,200. Now we've gotten a ton from events, but one big thing that the Battle Pass gives is it gives quite a bit of this. So on the bottom is the paid version, the top's the free. As you can see, you get a bunch of like 500, 2,000, 500, 500, 2,000. And you get, don't know the exact number. I think it says on the page where you purchase it how much you're going to get. But I don't think I see it anymore since I've already purchased it. But it's a good chunk. I mean, it's at least enough for like 1 or 2 leveling up of new weapons. So in the beginning, it's very useful in that fact. And then there is also the Battle Pass weapon. Now, I know a lot of people think, well, this is an okay, good weapon beginning, but one big thing is that some of the new characters coming out in the future actually have a best-in-slot weapon that is the Cornucopia. The biggest one that I've seen, and the one that I'm working on getting the 5-star version of, will be the Cornucopia staff. And that's because one of my teams that I plan to build up around will be a summoning. And so we can kind of look here, if we look at the future units coming up. So we pretty much have followed this mostly through, with some of these characters have already starting out on release. And then now we've just gotten the Simona, so everybody from Simona back has been released. Now, we don't know the exact order the next units are coming up, but it's highly expected and guessed that it's going to be between Cocoa, Sophia, and August on the next banner. And then probably the other 2 preceding that, or following that. And then you have units like Acambe. Acambe is the main summoning unit I actually really want. And then a bunch of other units down the line from her, or from him. So this is where you kind of want to think of your pull priorities when it comes to putting it together. Now, if you're complete free-to-play, this is where it's really important to pick who you want. I know a lot of people are saying to try and get Sophia and August, but if you want to get a solid team, you probably want to get one of them and build the remaining team around them. So, for example, if you, or like in my situation, where you have Gloria, you have Simona, maybe you have the other Union guy. I don't know exactly. off the top of my head. But if you have all the Union people, then a Gust go really well with them because they all buff him up. They all take advantage of Gloria's leadership aura. But then you can kind of go the direction that I'm looking at, which is going to be kind of a summon meta, which includes having Sophia, Cocoa, and Acambe. Now this is going to be a very hard one for most people to pull off. But I do spend a little bit of money on the game, and I think it'd be quite easy for me to get all 3 of them with the amount of currency I have coming, especially with the luck that I got on Simona Bat. So I kind of thought I'd kind of go over a built-up team and how they can kind of go together. So other people can kind of look at other future units and how they can build a team, say, around Sophia or August, or even some of these other future DPS units coming out. So for my main team, what I am looking at is building around Acambe and his summoning ability. Now, we don't have all the details translated within our game. I don't have access to the test server that other content creators have. But you can go to the Chinese website on billygame.com, and if you use the English translation, you can get all the skills and kind of get a good idea what everything does. Now, Acambe's big thing is all about summoning these Shadow Assassins. And the big thing with that is he can do this. It's an instant with no cooldown. And with this instant, you can summon these Shadow Assassins at a target location. You can't control them, but they inherit 85% of his attack value and defense value and the health value of the player. And the thing that causes them to get a cooldown is if the Shadow Assassins are defeated. Now, one big thing is that the Shadow Assassins, you can get a ton of these out on the map at one time. This makes him extremely energy reliant. Because, there's other skills you want to throw in here too that kind of tells the Shadow Assassins what to do. I think it's this one here, the Spend a Fortune. So you get to choose two options, whether Death for Money or Great Reward. I don't know how to actually look at it here. Won't let me actually go onto it. But those are 2 commands from what I can understand. Oh yeah, it's actually down here, I believe. So sprinkle gold coins on the target terrain grid, gather all enemies and Shadow Assassins with grids, and apply move -2, magic defense 2, and assistance 2. So a lot of things like that, you can kind of control them and tell them to all attack you. Now, these Shadow Assassins get buffed by another... he has a leadership aura that I believe another unit already has this in-game, but he has it, and he's a lot better unit than the other one that has this aura. But he has a leadership aura over all the allies in the field whose camp is, and this is just a translation, lined up with a forest. That's basically the discipline field, and it increases the attack and defense by 20%, which is the standard on every aura. But then for skills with a cooldown of 4 turns or more, their cooldown is reduced by 1. That alone is already big, because in the discipline, you can already kind of see units that have it. I'm going on the website here. It's kind of hard to see here, but members of the discipline will be, you have Simona, which Simona has a lot of high cooldown skills. So that aura alone can reduce a lot of her big skills, like the Winter's Doomsday, and her knockback, all that. So that's really useful for her. It's got Inanna in the group. So Inanna she doesn't have a lot of cooldowns, but one thing she does have is a summon, which is the second part of his buff, which is at the same time, the damage caused by your summons is increased by an additional 20%. Now, 20% is not that much, especially for Inanna's summon, because the guard really doesn't do much. But if you 5-star her, he gets a bonus to his attack and defense, so he becomes a little bit better at that point, that you can maybe actually dish out a little bit of damage, and that sometimes can be the difference between an enemy dying or not. So already, Inanna pairs very well with him. And then another thing you want Inanna for is her ability to make a person go again. So what you want with this guy is you're going to be battering him up to get him a lot of energy. He summons a bunch of Shadow Assassins on his turn, and then you can use Inanna to make him go again after you buffed him up with more energy, and then he can put out another 2. So right there, in one turn, you can get 4 Shadow Assassins out with just this one skill. And then he has another skill in here. I think don't remember which one it is, but there is one where he attacks the enemy, and he puts out 3. So that right by itself can get you 7 Shadow Assassins on the map at one time. So 7 summon. And then you have Inanna's Guard out there. But then there's one more person in his buff that also has a summon, and that is Sophia. So Sophia has a skill to summon I forget what he is, but he's like one of those arrow guys from the Hangman. And he does quite a bit of damage, and he's a summon as well that can take advantage of this. So you have 3 units with summons getting the buffs from his leadership aura. And so when you build around that, you can do some significant damage with all of these summons out on the field. So not only can they take some of the hits for you to make sure your other teams aren't dying, but they also can actually dish out a significant amount of damage. With his kit, his damage is all centered around his summon, at least in the build that I'm looking at. So when I look at the upcoming units, there's the main ones that I want. So I want Simona because I already have her, but she has high cooldown and she is in the discipline. So with Acambe, his leadership aura automatically will reduce a majority or a good chunk of her skills by 1 on the cooldown. You definitely want Cocoa because she can stack energy and also reduce cooldown. So with Acambe and Cocoa, you can actually have Simona having like 2 and 1 turn cooldowns on like all her skills, just because of these 2 units reducing the cooldown. But Cocoa also generates a ton of energy, which Acambe wants for getting those Shadow Assassins out, so she can buff him up to give him more energy so that he can use more of his to get more summons out. And then you have Sophia, which also has her own summon, has her own buffs, and she can do a significant amount of damage herself. So the main team that I'm looking at here so far is a Sophia, Cocoa, Acambe, and then you'll have Inanna, she's not on this banner, Inanna for my healer, and then we go up to 6. You can slot, or for a 5th unit, I'm looking at someone like Simona, or there's also future units. You have like Terror. Terror's another energy generator. So when Terror comes out, I definitely want to get him. He can generate energy. You have Simona if you need a lot of utility, need some extra tanking. And then if you can also slot in a 6th, because some combat allows 6th. Another big one that I would get would be Gloria, because Gloria can buff up Simona. And then she also has her other energy generation, I think, and cooldown reduction as well. So you have a lot of utility in the team with what I've built around. Now, if I wasn't spending what I was in the game, that effectively means I would want to skip a Gust. A Gust is right in the middle of all these units. So if I'm going to go over that, a Gust is an easy skip for this comp. Yes, he's a T0, he does significant damage, but he doesn't fit that comp at all. So if I were to want to go for those as a low spender, free to play, those are the 3 I'm aiming for the future unit. Now, if you're not wanting to get Acambe, then you may want to just go, okay, well, Sophia doesn't really fit in with any specific unit. She's really good on her own. She doesn't need any specific unit. But if you maybe don't want to get Acambe and then you really want a Gust, then Sophia may be an easy skip, because with the Gust, you can build around him with Simona, Gloria, Cocoa. Cocoa is just straight up good in any team comp because of her energy generation and cooldown reduction. So Sophia may be an easy skip. I have not looked into significantly on any of these other ones like Hasna, Homa, Karist, any of these others, but they all have their own kits. They have all their own teams. You can look through the Chinese website here, translate it, and you can actually find on their forums people's kind of team comp that are currently meta team comp. Because the meta team comps are not just getting all tier 0 units and that's all you use. They mix and match the T0, T1s. I even see some of the T2s in the endgame content, because you want a team that fully functions together, not just a team that is all tier 0 high DPS. A lot of it is needing that utility to stop the boss. And so that's kind of just my plans, is just really thinking about what is coming up and what are your team camps to be in the. Don't just pull on someone because everybody is saying they're a must pull. Every unit has their uses. They have some form of utility. You just want to think about what's coming up in the future and what are the team comps you're going to specifically build around for clearing the content. Because what you're looking at for endgame content is having that synergy with all the teams. So from here, let me go ahead, and there is an Acambe battle video that I want to show. It's just an example of this team comp and what you really need to do in the endgame of Power Adversity. So let me pull it up. It took me a second there to find it, but here is a video that I found of someone using an Acambe in in-game content, utilizing his summon. Now you'll see on this how tanky the boss is, and even with his extremely good build, as you can see, it's still taking a significant amount of attacks to kill that boss. I mean, it goes fairly quickly in terms of rounds, but the boss takes a lot of hits. So we'll just go ahead and play it, kind of see an example of endgame content. This is one side of tower. You have to beat two sides. So in the beginning, he has multiple units that we don't currently have released yet, and I don't completely know their kits. So I don't know an example of everything they're doing. So you have Cocoa here, who can do a healing and energy gain, which she's giving to Acambe. You have Homa there, and then Tristan. I don't know their entire kits, but they have their own special unique abilities that allow them to attack often and provide buffs to the team. So what they do in the beginning is they clear out all the extra adds, leaving only the boss left. And then from this point is where you can kind of see the summon meta come into play, the teams I'm going to build around. So he's summoning his assassins here. So he's now got 5 assassins out. He's then using New Gull to just be a really high big damage from the back. And then you have all the assassins that do assisting attacks. And then you have Inanna come in, give Acambe another turn. He goes up and summons more assassins onto the map. And then they all start attacking the boss over and over and over again. And this boss really can't do anything. And then you have Cocoa coming in, giving energy and cooldown reduction. And then all of them are doing assisting attacks to the boss again. All these assisting attacks. And then you go from here, so now you've seen some more adds came. So the boss summoned some more adds. And then he's about to do another command on the assassins. He just summoned 2 more assassins, so he's got like 9 of them out there. And now all his assassins are gonna kill all the adds. And now he's gonna do another attack, which is gonna make him do an AoE. So the assassins have 2 types of attacks. They have a single attack, and then an AoE, which they're doing here. And as you can just look at the damage that they are doing to that boss. And then look how much health this boss has compared to the content we have now. So this is why I'm kind of saying in the future content of this game, it's not about just having the absolute best unit. It's about building a team that can complete the content. And being more synergistic is way better than just having all the best damage dealers in one group. Because this would be extremely hard without being able to do the kind of damage that they're doing here. And this team doesn't even have the best synergy in terms of the best team you can have. Well, when I read in the description of this team, Sophia is not included in this team comp simply because she's needed for the other side of tower. And so in this game, the person was using the other units on the other side. So this is just them min-maxing it for both sides of the tower. And this is just finishing him up with summons. And then he dies there. And so that's basically was just one example of the team I'm building around with Acambe. He's got really high potential for damage, and he's only tier 1 on most tier lists. But he is a really good unit you can build around with T0s. So he wants Cocoa, who's a T0. He wants Sevilla, who's a tier 0. She wasn't in that video, but she actually worked really well with him. So he, even being a T1, he does really well with these other T0s assisting him. So you just want to think about your team and the synergies for future content. So that was just my thoughts on future polls. Just think about the teams you're wanting to build. Don't go trying to get every single T0 unit, especially if they don't synergize together. Because eventually you're just going to run out of polls unless you're wanting to whale, and then you're going to struggle beating the endgame content down the line. Now, everything is beatable with tier 1s and lower units, so don't be too concerned too if you can't get every tier 0. There are team comps that I've seen utilizing the lower tier 1s as well, where they all synergize and can beat this content, just not as quickly as you saw in that example. But when it comes to tier power of adversity, you have plenty of turns. That one beat it in like 3 turns. You have way more than that, so you don't need the meta to actually beat all content. So that was just my thoughts on future banners and my pull priority. That's the main team comp that I am pulling for, depending on my luck with the next couple banners, because from what I guess, it's going to probably be Cocoa next, and then Sophia. Depending on how well my pulls go with them, I will almost certainly still pull over Auguste. It just depends on, if I go to 180 on both Cocoa and Sophia, then maybe I have to skip Auguste, just so I can make sure I can get Acambe. But it just really depends on my luck. Now, other people may have different scenario that happens that for their team. So, just some thoughts on that. But that's pretty much it for this video. So just let me know if you have any questions. Put it in the comments. I try to respond to every comment that I see. So, thanks for watching.